We all strive for better understanding of photography, especially when it comes to composition. Sometimes the scenes we want to photograph are so busy we don't know where to start and end up with a good old-fashioned point and shoot approach. They might look okay, but what if we added a bit of dynamics to the same scene? Something with a bit more shape and purpose. Horizontal lines, diagonal lines and vertical lines are everywhere that we look, and we can use them in our photos to add a bit more interest or to guide the viewer's eye to where we want them to look in the photograph. All we need to do is find the lines in whatever it is that we're shooting and work with them and frame them around the image. And using the rule of thirds as a guide, we can have those lines coming in and out of our photograph whichever way we want in the scene, giving our photograph more structure and shape. And the rule of thirds, if you don't know, is a guideline for visual composition where important elements are placed along the lines or intersections that divide the image into 9 equal parts. Cinematographers have relied on the rule of thirds and leading lines since the dawn of cinema to create specific moods and guide the viewer's eye when they're watching the movie. And leading lines in particular can be used to establish atmosphere, drawing the viewer's attention to key elements within the frame and creating a sense of intrigue. And we can use this in our stills photography, giving a photograph more visual interest. Such as this bench. Looking for texture, I approached it with a different angle, combining the use of light and dark concrete slabs on the wall to add some tone and shape. And alleyways too, getting down low on these paving slabs, guiding your eye up the alley. And also using this mirrored building that I found, not only is it giving a reflection, which can be nice, that line I'm using to guide your eye towards the background. And even this old townhouse, by using the steps, I could look back towards the street or even use its rails to fill the frame a little bit more. And the local town hall made way for leading lines using its pillars and light coming through. And even using this old decking and beach huts gave way for an interesting foreground and background for taking pictures of my wife. Using the rule of thirds and the leading lines, you can also find interesting compositions of buildings. And even if you're at a car show, working out the lines on cars and framing your photographs in a unique way can make your photographs a bit more special. And horizontal lines on streets, as well, as boring as they look, they can actually make a photograph look quite nice. And in this composition, I've got a nice country road and I'm using it to guide your eye to the big tree in the background. And I've framed the big tree right in the middle section. It's a simple composition. I can also make the road have more impact by simply lowering my angle and bringing the road closer to the lens, making it appear wider. And it's still leading to the big tree in the same area of the frame. Which one do you prefer, the skinny road or the fat road? Back to my original position, and this time a big hot air balloon decides to come over, so I tilt up for more sky to frame the balloon, and now my leading line, the road, seems insignificant. It does nothing and the bush isn't doing much either. So I decide to get rid of the road altogether and tilt up even more. The balloon is my subject, but now I've totally lost my composition. It looks okay visually, but I know that I can do better. So I get down lower again, and this time I tilt the camera up and lose the road altogether. I can now shape the bush and use that shape as a leading line towards the balloon. And I get my photo just before the balloon people give it some welly for a higher altitude. It's just simple positioning and shaping the scene in front of me as a way of guiding your eye to the target, but still having a nice visual scene. So I'm out and about with my camera, just looking for lines. That's all I'm doing, just give myself a little project looking for lines. And I've been walking around for quite some time, and this has tickled my fancy. So I've got this lamp behind me, and I've got these lines going across the wall, some windows, and the idea is to try and get everything straight in my composition, you know, either side, mirror everything, get that lamp bang in the middle and finish it off somewhere at the top and the bottom. It's a nothing photograph, but you know, it's just an exercise to get my compositions, if you like, get used to them and play with them. That's all I'm doing. This might be intriguing as well. You've got these lines going across, and if someone walks past at the same time, like this person coming up now, that might make a nice photograph if they was, you know, photogenic enough, I suppose. Maybe a guy in a big umbrella or something, or just whatever to fill the frame. And there's a second composition as well, looking up. I can get that lamp exactly as you can see it now in the video. And I'll probably take that, I don't know, maybe portrait or landscape, I'm not sure yet. I'll look through the viewfinder and see what I can do, but you can see there's a little bit of margin there for a composition. I totally missed this composition, noticing it on the video. I'll bet you've already seen it. If there was something interesting in the background, it could have made way for a nice example of leading lines. That hot air balloon gets about, doesn't it? And another simple composition straight on. I took two photos, one with the parking sign in, which I prefer, and one without. But you can see how the horizontal lines work in these street scenes. So you see these pigeons here, I just took a photograph and I've used this electric box to kind of guide into where the pigeons are. So I've kind of used this part as a point at the lower part of the frame towards the pigeons. I was waiting ages for a reflection of a pigeon above in the water, but it just weren't going to happen. But I'll show you that picture now. You can see the framing I'm on about. Just something different. So I just found this composition here. I've got this lamp that's going down and I need to separate the lamp to the building. I don't want it conjoining. I need a little gap in there. You've got this nice shape going across here and this nice line, and everywhere's lines as well on this building. So if I can just compose there for a little while, probably portrait, and just wait for a bird to come by, hopefully, just to fill the frame. There's this bench here. We've got some water droplets on the handles there. The handles are coming down nice, and we've got the line going across there as well. We've got the street lines in the back, the parking lines, guy walking past. And I managed to compose this shot. I've already taken it. I managed to compose it with the end of the bench being at the top left frame and the end of this handle being at the bottom left frame, and the lines over the right hand side. So it's just like a texture shot with a bit of shape in it. So I've just stopped off for a little bite to eat with my family, and look at all these, look at this place. There's lines everywhere, and they've sort of like said to me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to take photos of lines, I'll be back in a minute. But even along here, all up here, all these will make nice photographs. I'm not sure if you're allowed to photograph around here as well. It's probably private property or something. I liked this building, so I went for a composition to include the lamp. I didn't get it how I wanted. You can see the top right and the bottom left. I would rather have had them with equal space in the frame. It's heavier at the top than it is at the bottom. And if I crop, you can see what I mean. It's not right and it's not wrong. It's just the way that I see it, trying to get some symmetry into the frame. And this one, I got it right in camera. And waiting for the bus to take us back to the ferry home, I took a photograph across the street of my wife and daughter through this underpass. It's not just a snapshot. It took me some time to work out the symmetry and trying to even everything out in the frame. I had time because I'm waiting for a bus. And the other photograph was using the wall as a leading line. So it's the next day and I'm out for a photo walk with my friend Jonathan here, and we're both taking pictures at the moment at Red Wing Quay. There's lots of boats and boaty stuff going on, and we're just contemplating on this composition here. We're looking at this boat winch. Is that a boat winch? What is it? It's a crane of some sort. Anyway, crane, yeah. So we're looking at this composition and we're trying to see how we can take a photograph of it. I'll show you guys and let us know what you think. So straight away I've noticed this nice big highlight coming down. So in the darkroom I know that I could make something with that. It's a strange old shape. We've got clouds up there which always look nice. I've forgotten an orange filter today, so I won't be getting no dark blue skies. But you can see the composition. I'll show you the photograph I'll take of it in a minute. But Would you guys bother with this? Would you find something in it? Let us know in the comments. So this was the best composition that I could get of it. I knew that I would get that nice highlight, and I decided to keep that part straight within the frame and also give it a bit of space to breathe. And the other part I positioned so it goes diagonally from top right to bottom left of the frame, making sure that it too had a little bit of space. It's not an interesting photograph by any means, and only a seagull swooping past could have probably brightened it up a bit, but it's still a nice exercise for practicing photography compositions. See, look at these lines here. All these could be leading lines to anything I want to shoot over there. There's not much over there really, but you know, there's some mileage in something like this maybe. Of it. I find it challenging when you go out with a composition topic in mind. It's not ideal for a photo walk with other people, as it really does slow you down, and I also found it challenging around the boatyard as it was so busy with stuff everywhere. I needed to speed things up, so I went off track a bit with a photograph of Jonathan, and I found Paul. Paul makes and repairs sails, and with his lamp I noticed a perfect moment for a working photograph, and one of his hands too. Then Jonathan took me across the mud to something that I'd never seen before. So I've got this, come to the side of this composition here. I've got three lines going on. I've got one at the top of the roof, which is the sky as well. Then I've got the brickwork. And right at the bottom, I've got the reflection of the roof as well. So I've got 1, 2, 3 horizontal lines. And with this 55mm lens, it's zoomed in a bit more than what you can see. And what I've done in the photograph, I've given an equal sky reflection in the water, which brings the building kind of into the middle of the frame. So just mooching around this harbour, I found a few compositions to fit my topic of lines. But mostly when I'm taking photographs, I always try to give them some shape. It's a bit like when you open the kitchen drawer and everything's a mess. You just want to tidy it up a bit into sections. A bit like using the rule of thirds, which is pretty much installed in my mind whenever I take photographs. Of course, it doesn't suit all types of photography, especially those from the hip shooters that like to shoot the shit out of anything with a pulse. But for me, if I have the time, I like to find some symmetry and shape, and a session like this targeting lines can be a useful exercise. So I took quite a few shots in Southampton and also down at that harbour, and I ended up in a darkroom with a couple of the negatives that I really liked. And for no particular reason, I just liked them. So I decided to make a couple of prints. Do you know what? I couldn't leave the darkroom without making a print of that guy Paul making sails. And I had two shots of Paul, and I love that sort of photography, you know, where it's sort of, you just stumble across something and you think, I've got to get a picture of that, everything looks perfect. And it was. I took a photograph, it was on Tri-X 400, nice contrasty, grainy, gritty looking film. So I took two shots of Paul, one of his hands and one of his face. And that's what I've printed here in the darkroom, as well as another print as well that I liked from the harbour, which is this one here, which was where I took a photograph of those boats all lined up. I like the tones in it. I like the sky. It had a bit of grain, a bit of grit going on, and obviously I got the lines as well going through the print that I was out to try and find lines. If any gripe I've got about my own photograph really is that right at the edge of this boat here, if only I just brought that in a little bit more over this side to just let it breathe a little bit, it might have looked nicer. It's sort of like gone off the edge there. But other than that, it's quite a nice photograph. And I made one more print as well of my mate Jonathan. You notice with that print there, I saw him lined up as he was taking his photograph. I hit it straight on. I noticed in the background there was like a black and a white section to it, and I just looked and thought that's a nice picture, so I quickly spun the camera around and took his photograph. I was on aperture priority, so I didn't have much thinking about, just the aperture was f11 I think it was, and I took that photograph. Unfortunately the sun was a little bit harsh on the top of his head, a bit like it would be with mine, and I had to try and do a little bit of burning in, but it is what it is. It's a nice photograph anyway. But the whole point of this video was to give some of you guys that maybe starting out in photography or not too sure on whether you know when you're doing compositions or not sure what to shoot. I always find that going out with a topic like this, like I have done my last couple of videos, this one I chose to go out and photograph lines, and it just gives you a little bit something more to think about when you're taking photographs and you see a scene and you think, okay, I'm going to get that photograph, but I want to incorporate lines into it. How do I do that? So it's just an exercise really to get you a little bit more experienced in photography and compositions and seeing where it all sits for you. Obviously a lot of stuff, like I said, off the hip when people are doing street photography, you're just shooting away as is. Sometimes you can think, sometimes you haven't got time to think. Like the picture of Paul, for example. I wasn't going to be sitting there thinking, oh, where's the line's going to go here? Just needed to get the photograph done. But sometimes little exercises like this can help you along with your photography and your compositions. It certainly does me anyway. So let us know, guys, in the comments what you think. Let us know, do you guys go out and do sort of subjects or topics like this to help you along? I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's given some of you guys some inspiration, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Where are we? What's this place called? Red Wing Key. So it's the next day and I'm out for a photo walk with my friend Jonathan here, and we're both taking pictures at the moment at Red Wing Quay. There's lots of boats and boaty stuff